Good morning, everyone. I am Dr. Vinay. Today we'll deal with an important part of the brain, that is cerebrum. The cerebrum, Latin word, it is called as brain, means in Latin it is called as brain. It is the largest part of the brain. It occupies the anterior, the middle and the posterior cranial fossa. It has surface of grey matter and core of white matter, means so by this time the spinal cord is already over. In the spinal cord, the internal or inner aspect of spinal cord, it has got grey matter, and the outermost part it is made up of white matter. Same thing it is reverse. The surface it is made up of grey matter and the core of cerebrum it is made up of white matter. Next we'll go to the features. So it has made up of, the cerebrum is made up of two cerebral hemispheres which are incompletely separated from each other by a median longitudinal fissure. The two cerebral hemispheres are connected to each other by what is called as corpus callosum. Can you see here the green colored part? So that is corpus callosum. Each hemisphere contains a cavity called as lateral ventricle. So what is the cavity of cerebral hemisphere? Lateral ventricle. Each hemispheres contain, the surface area of cerebrum is about 2000 square centimeters. 2000 square centimeters. So did you understand? So, cerebrum, it has got two cerebral hemispheres, that is right and left cerebral hemispheres, which are separated by a incomplete median longitudinal fissure. The two cerebral hemispheres are interconnected by this, that is corpus callosum. So this is left cerebral hemisphere, medial aspect. We'll go to now each cerebral hemispheres. In that we'll go to the external features. So it has surfaces, poles, borders and lobes. First we'll deal with the three surfaces. Number one, the superolateral surface. It is convex and is related to the cranial vault. Next is the medial surface. It is flat and vertical. It is separated from the corresponding surface of opposite cerebral hemisphere by falx cerebri and a longitudinal fissure. Falx cerebri and longitudinal fissure. The third surface is inferior surface, which is irregular. It is again divided into anterior part called as orbital surface. So this is inferior surface. So this part is orbital surface, and a larger part, posterior part, that is the tentorial surface. Tentorial. The two parts are separated by a deep cleft called as stem of lateral sulcus. So these are the things that you should know about surfaces of brain. How many surfaces it has got? Three surfaces. Superolateral surface, medial surface and inferior surface. Inferior surface subdivided into orbital anteriorly and tentorial posteriorly. Now we'll go to poles of, there are three poles. Anterior or the frontal pole, the posterior end you got the occipital pole, anterior end of temporal lobe you got the temporal pole. Three poles: frontal pole, temporal pole, occipital pole. So these are the three poles of cerebral hemisphere. Now we'll go to borders of cerebral hemisphere. How many borders? We have four borders. So this, can you see this line? So this is superomedial border. Superomedial border. Number 2, inferolateral border, superomedial border. Next is, this is inferolateral border. You can see this inferolateral border. Number 3, the medial orbital border. Medial orbital, this is the medial orbital border, and medial occipital border. So the medial borders are again two types or two subdivisions: medial orbital border, the medial occipital border. So totally there are 4 borders. We'll repeat again. We'll go to the previous slide. Number 1, superomedial border. Number 2, inferolateral border, medial orbital border, medial occipital border. These are the 4 borders of cerebral hemisphere. Now we'll go to yellow color arrow indicates superomedial border. The blue color arrow indicates inferolateral border of cerebral hemisphere. So this is right cerebral hemisphere and this is left cerebral hemisphere. What is the cavity? Cavity is lateral ventricle. The right and left cerebral hemispheres are connected by corpus callosum. The right and cerebral hemispheres are separated by a fissure, that is median fissure. And within this you got falx cerebri, that is present. Now we'll go to different subdivisions of cerebral hemisphere. And you've also got different poles of, the lobes of cerebral hemisphere. Each lobe is divided into 4 lobes. The frontal, this is the frontal lobe, this is the parietal lobe, the temporal lobe, and the occipital lobe. Each cerebral hemisphere is divided into 4 lobes. The red colored part is frontal lobe, the parietal lobe, green colored part is occipital lobe, orange color part is temporal lobe. These are the subdivisions of cerebral hemispheres or lobes of cerebral hemisphere. There are 4 lobes which are visible to us and 1 lobe which is not visible, that is called as insular lobe, which is present with if you retract these structures. That is called insular lobe of cerebral hemisphere. So now we'll see what separates frontal lobe from the parietal lobe. Can you see this? Okay, so can you see this here? You got a depression here. So these are called sulci. Depressions are called as sulci. Elevated part are called as gyri. The central sulcus begins at the superomedial boundary of cerebral hemisphere. So this divides frontal from the parietal lobe. Frontal from parietal lobe. Lateral sulcus separates the orbital and the inferior surface, the orbital surface and the tentorial surface. And this is posterior ramus of lateral sulcus. Posterior ramus of lateral sulcus, which separates frontal from temporal lobes. Parieto-occipital sulcus is sulcus present on the medial surface. Its upper end cuts off superomedial at about 5 centimeters above the occipital pole. So what is this sulcus here? Parieto-occipital sulcus, upper end. So it is around 5 centimeters from the occipital pole. This is the pre-occipital notch. Again it is 5 centimeters from the occipital pole. So you mark 5 centimeters, 0.5 centimeter bone, that is pre-occipital notch. 5 centimeters in this, so it is called as parieto-occipital sulcus apparent. So an imaginary line joining these two separates parietal from the temporal lobe. Now what is this? Posterior rams of lateral sulcus. So again the imaginary line joining these two. So we got 4 lobes which are visible to us and a small insular lobe which is deep inside. It can only be seen after we retract. Clear? Fine. Next we'll go to important sulci and gyri of cerebral hemisphere. The cerebral cortex is folded into gyri, which are separated from each other by sulci. Why there is elevation and depressions? Because it increases the surface area of cerebral cortex. In human brain, the total area of cortex is more than 2000 centimeters square, and approximately 2/3 of this area is hidden from the surface within the sulci. So again, there are different types of sulci as given below. According to function, number 1, it is divided into limiting sulcus. Means it separates the two areas which are different functionally and structurally. It is limiting sulcus. Axial sulcus. Number 3, operculated sulcus separates by its lips two areas and contains a third area in the walls of the sulci. Example for operculated sulcus is lunate sulcus. So this is one type of classification of sulci. According to formation, primary sulcus are formed before birth, secondary sulci are produced after birth. According to depth, a complete sulcus is very deep and incomplete sulcus are superficially situated and they are not deep. Example is precentral sulcus. You can see here. So this is precentral, example of incomplete sulcus. Yes, now we'll come to different important sulci and gyri of cerebral hemisphere. Now 1, the central sulcus. Can you see here? Central sulcus, depressed part, central sulcus. The upper end of the sulcus extends for a short distance on medial surface. So next is the lateral sulcus. So lateral sulcus has 3 ramus or 3 branches: posterior ramus, anterior ascending branch, anterior horizontal branch. It is 3 branches. So now just anterior to this you got a precentral sulcus. The area between central sulcus and precentral sulcus is called as precentral gyrus. The area between central sulcus and postcentral sulcus is called as postcentral gyrus. Postcentral gyrus. This frontal lobe is again divided into 3 gyrus by superior frontal sulcus, inferior frontal sulcus into superior frontal gyrus, middle frontal gyrus and posterior frontal gyrus. Inferior frontal gyrus. So these are the different things that you can see. So this is exactly how it appears. So lateral sulcus, central sulcus, this is parieto-occipital sulcus, pre-occipital notch, stem of lateral sulcus, posterior ramus of lateral sulcus. This is exactly how it appears. So in this you can see the depressed part are called as sulci and these elevated parts they are called as gyres with their different names that can be seen clearly. Now we'll go to medial aspect, that is one important sulcus that can be seen on medial aspect, that is calcarine sulcus. What is this? Calcarine sulcus. Then this is cingulate sulcus. What is this? Cingulate sulcus. Next we'll go to different sulci on the orbital surface. This is called as olfactory bulb. Within it, olfactory sulcus is there. The two things that can be H-shaped sulcus. This is H-shaped sulcus. Can you see here? Yes, H-shaped sulcus, which divides into anterior, middle, and posterior orbital gyri. The tentorial sulcus, some surface, you got the gyri. The part medial to the rhinal sulcus is uncus. What is this? Uncus. This is uncus. Parahippocampal gyrus. Parahippocampal gyrus. And this is medial and lateral occipitotemporal gyrus. So these are the different sulci and gyri present on tentorial surface of cerebral hemisphere. Next we'll go to functional areas or cortical areas of cerebral sulcus or cerebral cortex. There are three basic functional divisions of cerebral cortex. Number 1, motor area. Number 2, sensory area. Number 3, association area. So we'll see first motor area. The primary motor area is identified on the basis of elicitation of motor responses. So these are the areas which give rise to or origin to corticospinal tract. Corticospinal tract. So this area, primary motor area, it controls contralateral isolated voluntary movements with centers of head below and leg upwards. That is called motor homunculus. What is the area? It is differently named. Area number 4. Area number 4. Clear? Fine. The next is sensory area. These areas can be recorded in particular ventral pores. So that is, this is primary somesthetic area for analysis, localization, discrimination of cutaneous and proprioceptive senses of contralateral side. So this is called as sensory homunculus. So there are two things. Area number 4 represents motor homunculus. Area number 312 represents sensory homunculus. This is about sensory area. Association area. In these regions, the direct sensory or the motor responses are not elicited. These areas integrate and analyze the responses from various other areas. Example for that is, many such areas are known to have both sensory and motor functions. It's called as sensory motor areas. So motor areas, you got a primary motor area, that is area number 4, that is precentral gyrus. You got premotor area, Brodmann's area 6, that is called as premotor area. And in general, frontal eye field, that is area number 6 and 8, frontal eye field. Broca's area, motor area, that is Broca's area, area number 44 and 45. Motor speech area is called as Broca's area. Prefrontal area, that is this area number 9, 10, 11 and 12. These are prefrontal areas. Next we'll see what are the functional areas in parietal lobe, that is sensory area, area number 312. Sensory association area 5 and 7. Wernicke's area 22. Wernicke's area, it is for speech, sensory speech area. Next we'll come to occipital area, visual sensory area or striate area, area number 17. Primary visual area or area number 17. Then visual association area, that is area number 18 and 19. Next we'll come to temporal area. What? Auditory area or auditory association areas. Then also you got taste sensation. So that is in the area number 43. So these are different things that you should know. Okay, now we'll see what is sensory homunculus. So this is the leg, foot, leg, thigh, pelvis, the trunk, the hand, forearm, arm. These are the things. So this is the cortex. That is motor area. This is area number 4. So this is called as motor homunculus. Different parts of the body are represented in different parts of the cerebral cortex. So you can see this motor cortex. Next is centrally sensory area, which are represented by different parts. So this is genitals, foot, leg, thigh, pelvis. This is called a sensory homunculus. We got two homunculus, motor homunculus and sensory homunculus. Suppose imagine this part of the brain is damaged, and the region to which it gives nerve supply, that on the contralateral side, that area will be paralyzed in case of motor area. In case of sensory, that part will lose its sensation. So that is the importance of these areas. Applied anatomy. We go to applied anatomy. Hemiplegia. If part of motor area of right side is damaged, the part or the half of the body on the other side or the contralateral side will be affected. So this is called as hemiplegia. Suppose if right cerebral cortex is damaged, the left upper limb and left lower limb will be paralyzed. That is hemiplegia. So next we'll not go to details of this, which will be done in the next classes. Next we'll go to